Hello everyone, and welcome back. Before we get too deep into this, I just want to make it clear that this is the all missions speedrun category from speedrun.com, not all missions currently in Deep Rock Galactic. Notably, it lacks refinery, escort duty, and industrial sabotage. The timer you see at the top middle of the screen that is added in post is the overall time of this entire run, which is one of the ways that this category is timed, which is all real time between first mission starting and last mission ending. The timer in the top right above the objectives is the individual mission time, which is the second measure of time for this run, which is where we get 24:39. You'll notice that the actual real time of this entire run was around 28 minutes, but personally I think the 24:39 that is counted secondarily to the real time is obviously the more impressive number and more accurate to how the missions were actually played. You can check out the link in the description down below to go check out the category and all of the rules. This video will serve as a sort of hybrid in between my thoughts on brick and mortar speedrunning in general and also commentary about specific parts of this run. The first mission I elected to go with was Dreadnoughts because it made it much easier to reset the entire run if I got a Hive Guard, as that seemed to be one of the most obvious, deliberate, and easy to call out, I don't want this to be in my run kind of things. Hive Guards are significantly slower to fight than the other two Dreadnoughts, especially on low hazards like Hazard 2. All things considered, I fought these Dreads pretty darn poorly. So, to talk about brick and mortar speedrunning in general for a little bit. I won't take credit for it, as I have no idea if it was actually anything to do with me, but the reason that I came up with the term speed play and started proliferating that as the way that me and pretty much all the people I surround myself with play the game is because brick and mortar speedrunning has a lot of different decisions that are made. Obviously, secondary objectives, optional events, things like that. Basically, all the style, build diversity, interesting choices you can make kind of go out of the window in favor of just doing the primary and leaving the mission as fast as you can. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but personally, that's not really how I like to play the game. So early on, whenever I was just speed running, air quotes, every objective in missions, doing everything at once, and then leaving the mission, and people would be like, oh, toxic speedrunner, stop speedrunning in public lobbies. I'd be like, okay, look, man, it's different than that. So, that's all in a roundabout way to say, the reason that the word speed play even exists is because it's like speedrunning, but more in line with how the game is actually played, even at a low pace. Unfortunately, the all missions categories are pretty dead on the leaderboards. They've only had a few runs submitted over all the years that speedrun.com has been a thing. And I'm partially hoping that the beatability and roughness of the time that I'm submitting here will hopefully spark a little bit of interest with other people into bettering this time. This is by no means a perfect run. As you can see, there's plenty of suboptimal mistakes, decisions, and everything in between made. This was just a really fun run that I found really stylish, enjoyable, and everything went at least okay, if not perfect. The reason that I like this category so much is because it prevents the stagnation and a really bad issue that brick and mortar DRG speedrunning has, which is what keeps me from doing brick and mortar speedrunning all the time. And the reason I originally started getting into speed play, as it later went on to be named, is because I didn't enjoy the brick and mortar speedrunning of the game. I tried it for a long time, and I really wanted to have it be, this is what I do. This is what my presence in DRG is. I wanted to hold records in categories. But just through the way that DRG's brick and mortar speedrunning is set up, and this is by no fault of the organizers or speedrun.com, it is heavily dependent on seeds. Yes, the player skill does play a huge factor, but the thing is, we can take 10 players of equal skill, put them up against each other, and have them play a 200 Morkite mining mission, and the person that does the best will be the person that got the best seed. And when you spell it out like that, yeah, obviously it makes perfect sense. If players are of equal skill and one has a better seed than the other, they're absolutely gonna win. But therein lies the problem with trying to get those random good seeds in DRG, is that every time a new, better seed, and ergo a better world record, is uploaded and takes the first spot on a particular leaderboard, let's just say 200 Morkite for example, the amount of remaining seeds possible out there in the world that you could find to go better and faster than the current world record shrinks. So theoretically, if you get the second best 200 Morkite seed, capitalize off of it, and get a world record, then there's only one seed a player of your equal skill could roll to beat you. The moderation team over on Speedrun.com has been trying to work around this for a while by introducing more and more seeded categories, which, don't get me wrong, I greatly appreciate, and they're doing a great deal to enhance the competitiveness and fairness of speedrunning DRG by removing the hours that you will spend rolling for seeds. And that's really the point that I'm getting at. The reason that I didn't like and still don't really love brick and mortar speedrunning in DRG is the better you are, the more time you will spend rolling for seeds. Go into the space rig, pick your mission, load into that mission, and potentially get either only a few seconds into that mission, or all the way to the end before you realize, wow, this just, like, there was no way for us to get a world record on this seed. Speedrunning isn't all about world records, of course, but there are plenty of categories in DRG currently that if you look at the world records, it's just abundantly clear that it's a seed. Like, if you do not get a seed like that, you have no chance of even being competitive. Like I said, world records aren't the only thing that matter. If you like speedrunning, then you should compete even if you aren't going to get first place. But it is rather discouraging to see the best time and view it as being completely out of reach due to something completely arbitrary like luck. And that brings us back to why I like this category so much. Because when we're talking about rolling for seeds and those god seeds being damn near unbeatable, that's a single point of RNG. Whenever someone uploads a 4-egg hunt with an incredible seed, you don't see the 200 seeds they went through to get that egg hunt. All they had to do was roll that good seed one time, a single float value. With this category, it's 5 separate missions. So the odds of rolling 5 godly unbeatable seeds in this category is slim to none, even more so than rolling 1 god seed that's unbeatable in another category. The chances of having a nearly unbeatable all missions solo category run is even more next to nothing than a single god seed mission run. Because if I haven't explained it before, what I like about playing fast in DRG is the unknown, is the suboptimal. I don't go into a 4-egg mission with the expectation of finishing it in X minutes and X seconds. I go into the mission with the understanding of the rough ballpark that the time should take me, but I also understand that as random emergent encounters appear in the mission, players on your team go down, players on your team play better than you go down, it's going to modulate the amount of time that mission takes. And taking everything in stride, reacting to it, and continuing to progress the game well is what makes speed play incredibly interesting for me. It's never about getting this specific time on this specific mission. It's about the time that we got on that mission, all things considered. And that's where this category really captures the magic of normal speed play rather than speed running. Is that you can't just reset on the 4th mission and go again and hope you get 3 great seeds and then a 4th great seed. If you get 4 mediocre seeds in a row and then 1 godly one, that could be the difference between the current world record run, which was, say, 5 mediocre seeds. Also, the length of the run also gives a lot more time for player skill, build decision, and choices to come into play. So as we go through 5 missions instead of 1, there's more space for people's choices and game knowledge to show more brightly. This run isn't a great example of it, as I only used 2 different builds on the same class, but it has 2, so really, if anything, I would hope that a all mission has 5 category would show these differences a little bit better. All of that is a roundabout way to say that I really like this category. Even though it only has 2, I think this is my favorite speedrun category that I've ever played. The seeded runs are great. Like I said, they're doing a lot to make DRG speedrunning more conventional, more competitive, and more accessible to people that don't have the time to sit around rolling seeds all day. So I don't mean to come off overly negative towards non-seeded runs, but I just want to explain my thought process of why I so deeply enjoy this category, because it disincentivizes that rolling for seeds mentality and just gets you into the missions and playing and doing the best with what you have. Because it's a lot harder to throw away 20 minutes and 4 missions than it is to return to Space Rig after 30 seconds. I've been talking to Bennycopter a little bit about trying to figure out more multi-mission categories, and I haven't necessarily been able to come up with anything great yet. My first thought was an entire promotion speedrun, but I realized that would be somewhere around 6 hours and completely trivialized and broken by double XP and time travel, so I'll have to go back to the drawing board with that one. But if you have any ideas about new categories that could potentially be multiple missions long and standardized in some sort of way, I'd love to hear from you. This is the first time in a while I've dipped my toes back into brick and mortar speedrunning, and it was good to return to form a little bit in a way that I felt was a little bit more valuable than just normal rolling for seeds like we talked about. You've probably noticed that this run was pretty heavily edited to cut out some of the slow parts. Obviously that doesn't fly for submitting a speedrun to an actual leaderboard. If you want to see the actual full, uninterrupted, unedited run, you can find that link in the description below. If nothing else, I'd love to hear any ideas that you have about more interesting speedrun categories that could potentially bridge the gap between seeded and non-seeded runs, or just any other ideas you have in between to help get more people interested in playing the game faster. With that, I'll leave you to the rest of the run. As always, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.
motherfucking clock here is nice. You need to goddamn tell the time and everything. God motherfucking damn! What happened to my motherfucking clock, bitch?